Welcome to today's video insight. Today's election day, and I thought it's a great day to talk about a real boundary. We talked about priorities and boundaries yesterday, and a real boundary that's very important and that always needs to be upheld is a moral boundary. And the thing is, the insight of today is the moral boundary is upholding individual property rights. Individuals need or do have the moral right to have or to own property. And if we cross that line, then it becomes immoral. That's today's insight. So how can we know that this must be a real boundary and it's not just in my head or in the head of other people, like libertarians? In order to know something, we said we can look at the opposite and then we can use the law of non-contradiction. If we disprove the opposite, then the opposite of this must be true. Better said, if I disprove something, then the opposite must be true. So let's look at the opposite of individual property rights. How about individuals couldn't own any property? How about there would be no property rights? How would a world like that look like? First of all, you could not own your body. So there would be no sense that it would be wrong if I cut your arm off, for example, because it's not your property. Anybody could do with it what he or she wanted. So also you could rape anybody, you could just kill children, you could starve anybody, you could take away all their food. No one could own property, you could enslave anybody. You could just destroy everything. You could just burn down houses or put toxic waste into the water system. There would be no sense that this would be wrong or immoral. So, but that's clearly not the case. We constantly act on the idea of that being wrong. You would break yourself against reality if you would think, that's clearly doable. So you run into total absurdity if you think that there's no property at all, that the concept doesn't exist in reality. So it's clearly not the case that there is no individual property rights at all. No one acts like that. So the opposite must be true. The opposite would be individuals could own everything that exists. Let's look at that. Could you own everything? Not really. So it would be possible if everybody would gifted you everything they had. So you would be the owner of everyone, but that's clearly not the case. And then also they would need to do it voluntarily. They would need to give them their right to their body and everything. So you know what I mean? By default, it's not the case that you own everything. So by default, how the world is at the moment, it's not possible that people cannot own any property, and it's not the case that one individual or you own everything that exists. So it must be the case that individuals have some property, and that must be the case. If you check both of the extremes, do individuals own nothing at all? Can they own no property at all? Clearly not the case. They have their body, they have their creations. And then does one person own everything? No. So individuals have some property rights. And let's look a little bit into what's the property rights, what it means. You have a moral right to your body. You say, my body, my arm, it's your property. So no one can just do to your body without your consent what they wish if you disagree with it. So no one can rape or hurt. They cannot just violate you against your will. That would be immoral. So they could do it, but they would overstep a moral boundary. Of course, someone could steal all your property from you, but then they would have it physically. But the moral right they don't have, and then they break themselves against reality. They contradict reality, and bad will come out of it. It's a real boundary, like if you contradict gravity, you will break yourself against reality and bad will come out of it. You will follow gravity to the ground. And if you act immoral, bad will come out of that. And you will have less over time. It's a lot of waste involved. So that's why it's a real boundary. It's necessary to understand, and then we can get rid of the bad. So if imagine we upheld individual property rights, so wars wouldn't exist anymore, no more rape, no more theft, no more breaking of contracts, no more slander, like reputation is part of your property rights. No one can just slander your reputation. You own that, you build that up. If you just tell lies about someone, that's clearly immoral and a property rights violation. So much bad and so many problems would be solved with this one idea to have our moral boundary correct, that individuals need to have property rights. And there is no reason to cross that line. So often in politics, for example, people just use some reason. We talked about arbitrariness. We constructed it correctly. We looked at it. Is it possible that individuals cannot have property rights? No, they must have some property. So every idea that contradicts that must be wrong. And so often we contradict it. We contradict the individual property rights because we think, oh, there is this reason that stands above it, but it's a real boundary. There's a line that may not be crossed. If we cross it, bad will come out of it. And if we keep it, if we respect property rights, we will open up more room for creation then, if compared to if we didn't do it. And we get rid of the bad. So very important topic or concept. Individual property rights must exist. Every idea that contradicts it is wrong. And it's a moral boundary, a real boundary. We always need to respect no matter what our priority is. I see you in the next one. Bye bye.